Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism, narcissistic relationships, and healing from these relationships. Got a very interesting question, a twist on something that I've heard before, but in a different direction. Here's the question I got. Can narcissistic people be nice to pets, but really treat people badly? What do you think the answer is? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Okay, so that's the question. Can narcissistic people be nice to pets, but terrible to people? Now, I got to tell you, there's a fair amount of people out there talking, content, even people who've talked to me. But this stuff out there is saying how narcissistic people are mean to their pets. They view them as an inconvenience. They get angry at other family members about the pet. They don't want to walk them. They don't want to feed them. They may even yell at the pet and treat them badly. Okay, that's kind of what we'd expect, right? But I got an interesting question sent to me, and I thought about it, and that led me to think back to several cases I've known. And her experience was actually a variant of this sort of pet issue that we often don't talk about. Can a narcissistic person be really nice to pets, but really awful to people? And I got to tell you, the answer there is a resounding yes. I mean, listen, animals are devoted creatures, especially dogs, and yes, you know, for me, cats. You may not think so, but they are. They don't need love bombing. They just need consistent food, a little bit of playtime, pet them, give them some gentle words, and you're in forever. It breaks my heart because even when some pet parents are cruel to their animals, the pets may still be devoted. The pet is sort of forever your sort of little devoted baby. And since the pet doesn't understand gaslighting, as long as they are interacted with and somewhat gently and kindly, and just interacted with at all, they're all in. And they need and ask for so little. Because pets need and ask for so little, it's actually a great setup for a narcissistic person who may get validation from an eager dog or a sweet cat. And they don't need to do much. In human relationships, their unwillingness to do much doesn't really work in the long term, right? You got to do something in a human relationship. But it gets confusing. If we witness this level of compassion for an animal, any animal, a dog, a cat, a horse, an iguana, a snake, we assume that a person being so gentle with a dependent creature would also do that with people. And because trauma bonding within a narcissistic relationship means that you may glom on to that kindness that the narcissistic person has towards an animal and assume I must be reading my situation wrong. Maybe it is me because they're so sweet with the dog. Remember, the dog isn't asking anything of them and isn't even asking for it other than being walked, a bowl of food, and a few pets on the head. Now, the question that got emailed to me was interesting because she noted that the person in her life is difficult with lots of people. So there is some consistency, which can help her, the person who wrote the letter, with getting clarity. It can be difficult if the narcissistic person is being nice to the pet and being nice to other people and is only nasty to you. But the pet thing is rough, and I have worked with clients over the years who will say that their ex or even their current partner was a great pet parent, and it didn't make sense. So they often stayed much longer in the relationship as a result because they cherished the pet and the relationship the pet had with the other person, and they doubted and blamed themselves because they thought, well, they're so sweet with the dog. I gotta be reading this wrong. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. Maybe I'm overthinking this. Many narcissistic people can be quite organized and responsible when something is important to them. They aren't late to their personal trainer. They're careful about what they eat. And if they are loving, that pet may be very devoted. And they maybe to take care of all of what's involved with the pet, which can leave you wondering, how is it you never forget to do things for the pet, and yet you do not ever take notice of what I need or even remember to do a simple thing? Listen, I would much rather a narcissistic person be kind than cruel to an animal. But I do also understand how this pattern can confuse the hell out of survivors. Don't pay attention to the cat or dog. As you make your assessment in your life, pay attention to how you are treated, what happens in your relationship with the narcissistic person, and perhaps in other relationships that you are witnessing with this narcissistic person. That dichotomy, that they're an angel with the dog and terrible with you, it's not okay. I always bring it back to that idea of multiple truths, and let me do that again. You're in an emotionally unhealthy relationship. You feel bad. You are invalidated. You feel anxious and less than. They're really nice to the dog. The dog loves them. All of those things can be true at the same time. You can recognize, again, from those darn multiple truths, that these varied things can be true, and the unique and sort of unconditionally loving nature of pet relationships may mean that perhaps if you sat around and needed nothing more than a bowl of water, a few bowls of food, a couple of walks, and maybe an occasional game of catch, and needed nothing else and couldn't talk, maybe that would work for a narcissistic person in your life too. My guess and hope is that that would never be enough for you. You know me. I adore my little cat. It might be actually the most rewarding relationship I have on many days. But she makes it really easy for me, and she only gaslights me occasionally. But remember that it is not unusual to see a narcissistic person who is unbelievably devoted to a pet. And if you come into their life and notice that adoration they have for an animal and wonder, they're so good with that pet and so terrible with me. And in fact, some people have even said that they have confronted the narcissistic person and have said, how is it you're so good with the dog and you're so mean to me? And the narcissistic person will say, well, because the dog is nice to me. They'll literally frame it that way, thinking that you and the dog can actually be assessed in similar ways. So catch yourself and don't make the same error for yourself. You deserve to be treated well. And no, you do not have to have the simplistic basic needs of a domesticated animal. But there is definitely that justification, rationalization, and confusion. And starting to wonder, is it me? Because how could someone be so sweet to that animal? Don't fall into that. Don't fall into that pattern. It is possible. It happens all the time. And since, unfortunately, a lot of people in narcissistic relationship can really feel that they're stuck being an emotional support animal to a narcissistic person, that's meant to be a metaphor, not a reality. So good luck with that. And as much as you might like your pet, don't let your pet be the reason you make a really important emotional and relational decision in your life. Thanks again.